everyone, and welcome back to finally another spooky Saturday. It's been like 6 months I think since I've done one, mainly just because when you work a full-time job, it's really hard to find a topic, do the research, rehearse it, film it, edit it, upload it. So that's why it's been so long, but I figured it has been way too long, and I really want to start up these videos again because I personally really enjoy them when I can manage my time a little bit better. We are also trying a new background. I've been trying to work with that. That way you guys don't have to stare at like a beige wall. Even though to me, background isn't everything, it definitely makes it more fun. But anyway, so today, even though it's not Halloween, if you are new to my channel, Staying Spooky, hi, my name is Caroline, and here we celebrate Halloween, spookiness, 365 days of the year. So I just figured, you know what? If you subscribe to my channel, if you like my videos, then you're probably into watching Halloween videos year around. So today's video is going to be the origins of Halloween. I have skipped a few topics in this video because some of them I'm kind of like I didn't want to discuss witches because I figured that could be like a whole separate video of research. And I don't know, I just didn't want to make this video too long because the whole point of Spooky Saturday is basically just to have small short videos that are still really fun to watch, or at least I hope they're fun to watch. So anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead, shut up, and get into it. So the roots of Halloween started with Christian Celtic times, and they celebrated something called Samhain. It literally looks like it should be pronounced Samhain, but I promise you it is pronounced Sawin. They celebrated this day on October 31st, and this really took place just imagine 2,000 years ago. They believed that there was a veil between the living and the dead. And basically on this night, it was the veil was lifted, and people, from the dead world could go over into the living, and people who were alive could get lost in the dead world. And back then, you have to remember that they definitely were not sanitary. They definitely did not know about bacteria and diseases and all that disgusting stuff. So death was always near them, and they were always, I guess, kind of just thinking instead of thinking, oh, it could have just been a sickness, they're like, oh, they must have gotten lost in the dead world and that's why they died, because their soul got lost over there. So just to kind of give you a picture of kind of what they believed, and why they believed that. So Samhain occurred a day before All Saints Day, which you guys don't know, that's November 1st. And this was to celebrate the most holy of Christians. So really, I hate it when people are like, Halloween is the devil's holiday. It is really not. The more research I did, I was like, really? The church and Christians are the ones that started Halloween. So if anyone ever tells you that, you can supply them with this information and be like, boom. So initially, All Saints Day was on May 13th, which I found very interesting because 13, everyone says that's an unlucky number. My husband and I got married on the 13th. I can honestly say it is an unlucky number, but that's a story for another day. So anyway, it was on May 13th, but this church decided, you know what, let's move it to November 1st so we can keep it with Samhain and we can kind of just keep these holy days together. So then the church, I guess, couldn't get enough spookiness and decided, you know what, let's make November 2nd All Souls Day to just, pray for, just to honor the dead, anyone that's died. And this is really where it kind of all starts. So they believed purgatory. If you guys don't know what purgatory is, it basically is not heaven, it's not hell, but it's still not a place you want to be in. So they believed that on All Souls Day, if they prayed, the more prayers they get, the more souls that would go to heaven. So I guess they decided to be like, you know what? We need some more prayers. Let's try to convince children to pray so we can get more souls to heaven. So they started going door to door. They would have children go door to door, and they would receive what was called a soul cake, which is like a spiced cake filled with raisins. And I was like, that sounds delicious. Like, that sounds so good. Some of these children started to get really rowdy. I think, you know, obviously like back in this time, there was no like age limit for alcohol. So children were obviously drinking, getting drunk, they were getting rowdy, they were getting destructive of the town. And some would wear masks and still go door to door and do this to like cover their identity, which is like kind of like the purge. That's like literally the first thing I thought about when I read that. Some people would kind of dress up and wear masks and they would perform in exchange for money or food. Now, we're gonna really skip forward to the Great Depression, and destruction got worse. Like Halloween was almost like an excuse for children to get destructive. And I really think during the Great Depression, children were probably just bored. You know, obviously it was kind of like the whole COVID thing we just went through, and I can only imagine like kids were just bored, and so they used Halloween as a holiday to just get really destructive. And so people were like, okay, we can't keep this holiday alive if children, like literally they were like setting buildings on fire, smashing car windows, and they're like, there's no way we can keep this holiday going if this continues. So they decided to start hosting costume parties, just events, and make it more of a fun partying holiday. Denison was the first company to really see, hey, we can make money off of this holiday. Because before then, it wasn't like, oh, let's go buy a costume for Halloween like we do now. You would just wear kind of whatever you had and maybe dress it up a little bit. So they started making books and guides of like, I guess kind of like how to have a fun Halloween without like being destructive. Like it's more like a party kind of holiday. And they started making costume patterns, which if you don't know what a pattern is, it's basically like little square things, and you would go and you would like cut them out. Of course, like nowadays we do like fabric, but back then all of these were paper. So they were making costume patterns, costumes, masks, books, and they were really making a lot of money off of this. However, they started getting reports of costumes catching on fire, which, can you just imagine you're like at a costume party or like you're just having fun and you're a kid and like all of a sudden like there's like an open flame and your costume's on fire? Has that happened to any one of you? Let me know, because I'm really curious. Like, what is your worst costume nightmare that has happened to you? Because I'm really curious now that I'm thinking more about this. So other companies got word of this and were like, hey, you know what? We can make some money off of this by making more durable costumes. And so that's really how all these companies started about making their own line of things, making their own masks, you know, and then nowadays we have Spirit and Party City and all those places. But that's really how it started, which I thought was really interesting. That, I don't know, I guess I kind of always just thought with Halloween, like, oh, people always knew they could make money off of it because it's a holiday, but I guess not. So that's really how the whole costume started, and why Halloween parties started, and why costumes are a thing, which I thought was really interesting. Now, I just now realized I totally skipped over how we got the name Halloween. So it started as Sawin, started as All Hallows Even, went to All Hallows Eve, and then went to Halloween. So I am so sorry, I forgot to say that. But if you're wondering, that's how we got the name. I feel like most people are like, oh, All Hallows Eve, Halloween, like kind of same thing. But it just like, if you're wondering, how do we go from Samhain to Halloween? Which I know some people like still do call it Samhain. So it's whatever you want it to be. But that is kind of the breakdown I was seeing when I was doing my research. Okay, now we're gonna get into jack-o'-lanterns, which are literally my favorite thing ever. Whenever I see a jack-o'-lantern, I get so happy. It just like, I don't know, I get so much joy. What is your favorite like Halloween like symbol? Is it a ghost? Is it a bat? Is it a jack-o'-lantern? Is it a pumpkin? I just always get so happy when I see jack-o'-lanterns. So I really wanted to like get into jack-o'-lanterns. So, and why they're called jack-o'-lanterns, because it's kind of weird. How do we get that name? So I'm about to tell you. So basically it was an Irish myth about a man named Stingy Jack, which that just sounds like a really horrible name. And basically this guy like conned the devil, like tricked him. And so when he died, the devil was like, you're not coming into hell because you tricked me. And then God was like, no, like you're not a good enough, you're not a good enough person. Like, we need to work on it. So this man was doomed to roam the earth and be a horrible man. And people, as like myths like the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot, they just get passed down, and people were like, oh my gosh, what if he tries to take one of us? In Ireland, they started to carve scary faces into turnips, which I can only imagine. And I looked at some of these pictures and they're actually kind of creepy. Like, I know that's like the whole point, but it was like, oh wow, these like look like almost like a rotten like doll face or something. Like, it's really weird. But basically that is what was native to their land, so that's what they used. They would put these in their window on All Hallows Eve or Samhain or whatever you want to call it, to scare away Stingy Jack or to ward off any evil spirits. And over the years, as Irish immigrants moved over to the US, they started seeing like, oh, in the US, we harvest pumpkins around the fall time. They're bigger, they're easier to carve scary faces into. So that's why we call them jack-o'-lanterns, and that's why we have them. And it's funny because every year on Halloween, my husband and I wait until midnight, so until it's November 1st, to blow out our jack-o'-lantern, because if you guys remember in the movie Trick or Treat, one of the rules is never blow out a jack-o'-lantern on Halloween. Now we're moving on to the very last little origin I found, which is literally my favorite term, my favorite group of words, and that is trick or treat. I don't know why, I just love that saying. It just makes me happy. I have a banner like behind you guys and I'm like staring at it and it makes me so happy. But the phrase trick or treat is actually like less than 80 years old, which I was like, what? I literally thought this term was around for like ever, but apparently no. It's a fairly kind of new thing. And basically, as we talked about earlier, kids were very destructive on Halloween. They would play tricks on people. And so this one person was like super smart, and she was like, you know what? I'm gonna make me some good treats. I'm gonna make me some candy apples. I'm gonna make me some popcorn balls, like homemade, like good treats. And can I say, nothing is better than a popcorn ball or a candy apple, like for real, nothing. So basically she was like, okay, she would try to bribe these kids, like, do you want a trick or do you want a treat? And then they would always pick treat. And she realized how well this worked, and it was published in a magazine about how good her experience was, that other people just started doing it, and now it's just like a normal thing. You go door to door and say trick or treat, and that's how you get your candy. And then of course it formed into getting really good candy like Hershey bars, Mars bars. Oh my gosh, Mars bars are so good. Too bad we don't have them here in the US. But anyway, that is how trick or treat formed, which is a very short story, but I thought I still wanted to include it because it's kind of like, why do we say that? Why don't we just say Happy Halloween and stick out your little pumpkin or your pillowcase or whatever? That is it for the origins of Halloween for the Spooky Saturday. I thought about doing a part 2 because there is so much more. And then I also thought about, for another Spooky Saturday, breaking down horror movies. Maybe doing like where the writers got the ideas, like my favorite horror franchise, Halloween. I don't know. Would you guys be interested in that? What do you guys want to see? You can comment down below. If you haven't subscribed and you like spooky stuff, please be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to. Thank you guys so much for watching and spending a spooky Saturday with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time, stay spooky. Bye.